Hi, it's Jason Gorber for ThatShelf.com, and we're here to look at the 4K release of The Conversation, this amazing special edition box set.
ThatShelf.
So, Francis Ford Coppola, Francis Ford for a while, a remarkable run from the late 60s to the 70s. He wrote this screenplay for Patton, won the Oscar for that, ended up working as a producer with this young whippersnapper named George Lucas. They do THX together. That fails. He ends up working on this little gangster movie called Godfather. Enormous success. Shepard's Lucas, after the checks didn't work and did work on American Graffiti, while they were working on another war film that was going to be called Apocalypse Now. When all of that got very complicated, he actually took on this project. The Conversation sort of fits in between this, The Godfather, and what he would eventually do is Godfather 2. So if you look at that, you have just directorially Godfather, Conversation, Godfather 2, Apocalypse Now. It's a hell of a decade for this amazing filmmaker. Finally, I actually have The Conversation in a release that is deserving of this title. I actually had to get this from the UK. This release from StudioCanal is one of their limited edition things. The 50th anniversary edition has a brand new 4K restoration, a booklet, and we'll see some other tchotchkes inside. There's not many films I would actually go ahead and get the silly box set for. They've been doing this for a couple titles. There's actually another Coppola one that they did, The Outsiders, which I've never actually seen, weirdly, that a friend actually helped put some of the supplements together for. But this, for me, is such an astonishing film, and I'm really looking forward to revisiting again, especially on 4K. I believe I've seen it theatrically at least once, but it's all about sound. And one of the things that you actually get with that connection that's sometimes overlooked, the Lucas Coppola connection, is Walter Murch. And Walter Murch was the guy who did all the sound work on THX and actually created this incredible soundscape. He also did a bunch of that and some editorial on The Conversation. He ended up doing the editing, a lot of the editing and the sound work on Apocalypse Now. And it was because Murch was busy doing all this other stuff that they called the USC and got this young guy called Ben Burt to eventually work on this space fantasy thing that Lucas worked on. So those two individuals, Ben Burt and Walter Murch, really are fundamental to my love of cinema in deep ways, in a very, I think, underappreciated way, which is the actual creation of audio. The sounds, and obviously I could go on, and maybe I'll do an entire video just on Ben Burt. I was kind of annoyed I didn't get a chance to go to Europe this year. He was given a bunch of awards and stuff like that. It would have been amazing to actually interact with him. But nonetheless, back to Murch, who I have been in the room with, as he's been showcasing some of his editorial and sound work on things like Blade Runner, Apocalypse Now, etc. What Murch does is creates these soundscapes as exquisitely as any picturescape. It takes, obviously, the language of radio that we know, that sort of amazing stuff that goes back to the incredible radio stars that entered cinema. It's one of the things that makes Citizen Kane so profoundly extraordinary, and interweaves it with this incredible visual stuff. Now, what you get in The Conversation, which is something that obviously makes audio front and foremost, actually fundamental to the actual storyline, is this integration. So you have this incredible stuff. Somebody who loves audio and cinema, who loves sort of procedural films, loves Gene Hackman, who loves Coppola. It's all in here. So let's crack this open and see what is inside. I've seen sort of teases of this, but I just knew I needed it for the disc. The disc is the most important thing. The tchotchkes are obviously secondary, but I'm still going to sort of enjoy having this, as much of a fortune as it actually was to bring from Europe. Quite annoyingly, this was actually, I had this and could have had this in my hand when I ran into Francis Ford Coppola this year at TIFF. He was there for his daughter Gio's screening. And a little bit frustrating that I didn't have this. I might have got him to sign it, but I don't usually get stuff signed, but Francis Ford Coppola, why not? If I would have had this in my hand, it would have been an obvious thing to do. Anyway, inside, well, on the outside, I have a sticker that I'm never going to keep, like the crazy person that you know. Brand new 4K restoration, 64-page booklet, original soundtrack, tape cassette, and 2 posters. Well, now we know what's inside. On the back is 1974 seminal neo-noir thriller, Conversation, blah, blah, blah. A harrowing psychological thriller that co-stars Cindy Williams, Frederick Forrest, and Harrison Ford. This is one of those Harrison Ford fixing the door and like getting a role that sort of spearheaded part of his career between this and American Graffiti. Obviously, that story of him being the construction worker has been belied by some people who say he was just a pot dealer for all of Hollywood, but that's another conversation to have. The box sort of opens as this sort of, I don't know, it's not quite a clamshell, but it's one of these things that this magnetic thing opens up, and inside we have this. On the front page, surveillance, noun, close observation, especially of a suspected spy or criminal. Quote, he found himself put under surveillance by British military intelligence. That's what the definition they put here. It's probably hard to see with all the glare. But nonetheless, really nice artwork here, and it's a fine book. And inside here, we have a bunch of stuff. So first things first, as I'll just do this, is we have the disc. And the disc itself is in one of these sort of cardboardy cases with plastic sort of put inside. A replication again of that image, and then a still of him at the mixer there. And inside we have two discs mimicking the reel-to-reel audio look, one being the 4K and one being the Blu-ray. The 4K is never regional locked, which is really nice. Blu-ray, I believe, may be regional locked. I don't know. I'll have to double check on that. But nonetheless, that's what we get inside. Obviously, I'm going to be watching the 4K. It's not a problem for me to have in North America. We then have the following. So this looks not just like a little poster, but an actual decent sized one, especially in a case this big. Really nice cardstock. And there we go. We have a replica of the conversation. One of the original posters. Harry calls an invader of privacy the best in the business. He can record any conversation between two people anywhere. So far, 3 people are dead because of him. Womp womp. It's nice when they put spoilers right on the poster. But nonetheless, that's there. And then we have this poster, which is, so that's obviously the classic, as it were. And here's the contemporary artwork, which again is the 50th anniversary poster. Much more akin, obviously very digital looking in a good way. But yeah, very somber, beautiful colors, pretty exquisite posters. You know what? These are small enough that I might actually frame these. We will see. But yeah, they're quite stunning. And then inside here, we have a booklet, this sort of anniversary booklet that has a bunch of stuff on the inside. We have Francis Coppola quoted from 1974. Really nice sort of 70s rounded corner elements, etc., etc. We have Gene Hackman, discussion with David Jenkins, conspiracy theories, a whole notion about the conspiracy theories, bunch of stills. I mean, it's really, for me, I mean, I gotta say, this look, this sort of orange with a rounded color, for me reminds me entirely of Star Wars cards, but you know, I am of that generation. A little bit about the Watergate story and how, you know, absolutely timely this film was when it came out. Fantastic. More verbiage, and then yeah, a bunch of other elements, just talking about the actual shooting and all of that stuff, some behind the scenes production stills. So a nice little booklet. It would be nice if it was hardcover, but you know, it's all good. And then tucked into here, completely preposterously and uselessly, is a cassette tape. And this is the original motion picture soundtrack of The Conversation, music by David Shire on orange cassette. Will I ever even open this? I mean, obviously, I have a cassette player because I'm not crazy. I have players for almost all media. I'm still looking for a permanent reel-to-reel. If anybody has one out there they want to gift me. Anyway, cassette tape of the original score, nice and sealed, just as a little bonus. And then inside here, tucked in a little quote, and that quote is, "I'm not afraid of death, I'm afraid of murder." And then, obviously, this is sort of a little box that the cassette falls in, and the rest of that is just blank inside the main box. But there we are. The conversation sort of nestles in here. You put the posters back, you put the booklet back, and you have the discs ready to go. So that's our unboxing look at the conversation. I'm looking forward to actually giving it a chance to watch. I've just finished a film festival with some, I don't know, 60 movies or whatever the heck was watched. And this is the one I was most excited about to actually dig into post-festival. I'm going to give this a shot. But I wanted to give, especially North Americans that haven't had a chance to actually see this. This is a very limited edition, but I snagged it while I could because this is a film deserving of this kind of attention. For thatshelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next video. Please like, subscribe, and do all that fun stuff. All the best.